Good morning, everybody. Cheers. It's cold. I got in early. And yeah, there's a bakery around the corner on the way in. They work all night baking and stuff, and then the guys go home and the wives come in and, run the bakery during the day. And so I freaked him out this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, got him to make me a coffee, which is nice of him, but it's cold now. Wow, even Matt has made it in here early today. Crazy. So before I do anything, Chris, I just saw your email this morning, Atomic14, crowd supply email about your ESP Rainbow boards they've arrived. That's actually very exciting. Let me read full update. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is, so I backed it. I've got one coming at some point, and yeah, you've got a lot of assembly to do. So this is the post, and it was even on some booths, expressive booths. They've been showing it off. Here it is over here. It's pretty cool. So it's a ZX Spectrum, but done through an ESP32, and it's all capacitive touch PCB for the keyboard. So I'll be interested to see how nice it is to type on the keyboard. I never had a any of the Sinclair machines. I was a Commodore guy, so I had some friends who had I think one eventually got a Spectrum. What was the one before the Spectrum? The original one? I can't remember. Anyway, but I never really played with them, so this will be interesting. Yes, you got a lot of firmware, right? It's all firmware. Everything's firmware. It's the bottleneck of all hardware. Why can't hardware exist without firmware? Ooh. Anyway, ZX, no, ZX80. It was, right, the ZX80 they had. Anyway, pretty cool. So, congratulations. You're going to be busy, busy, busy. Very busy, you're going to be. Cool. Okay. The other really important thing I want to talk about, and I never do this, but I'm going to do it, is promote myself. Folks, I've got a, I'm running a promo till the end of April on my website. 15% off everything on the store. Got to spend $50 or more. And it's only one use per customer. But anyway, that's the, oops, that's the code. That's interesting. You can't copy and paste that code. What was my website again? Unexpectedmaker.com. Anyway, I don't do enough promotion of myself. I know you all come here for the laughs, but I gotta pay my bills. And so I pay my bills by making and selling product. So now's a good time to buy. 15% off. Woo! Anyway, okay, there you go. I've done my little promotion. Let's go back to here. Let's talk Xeon Promo. It's a sale. Yay! It's a sale. So, hi to everyone in the chat. Feeling a bit rushed this morning. I think I've warmed up the paste. It's getting cooler here now, although we had a couple of warm days in a row. Bloody Melbourne. So a bit harder to get the paste going in the morning, but that's why I started a couple of minutes late. I was downstairs getting the paste mixed. Hopefully in time it'll be good for the assembly today. We're going to assemble a... Well, you would have seen in the picture, in the thumbnail. There goes the profits from your boards. Yeah, no, don't buy anything on my store, Chris. We're going to assemble, look at this little tiny EDGES3. That's the EDGES3. That's a microcontroller board, EDGES3. And we're going to assemble one of the carrier boards and see if it actually works. See if my mapping for the M.2 works. Don't forget that this is not computer M.2 compatible. It's just M.2 connector to connect this to this. That's all. It's not using any PCI format or anything. It's just a connector, but it's a way to get a reusable board. It's pretty cute, isn't it? So these edges have not been chamfered. They don't. No one chamfers the edges for a prototype board, like for a single board like this. They've got to be on a panel, and so I thought that might have been a problem, but it's actually not. It goes into the connector fine. So I'm pretty happy with that. Not only will it stop working, but you'll also destroy your PC, probably. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. You'll set something on fire. It's not for a computer. It's just using that connector. So come here to see someone who gets stuff just working. Well, I try to do everything the first time. Got some pieces that work and some that don't. Totally unclear what's up. Yeah, sometimes I don't have things work the first time. You know, I've been doing this for a while now and it still happens. I make silly mistakes. Yep, I do. So whatever, but it'll be good. I can't think of any reason why it won't work. I can't think of any reason why this won't work, though. If I've made a mistake on the pin mapping to the connector to this, that might be a problem, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we're going to be assembling that shortly. I've got the stencils all set up, ready to go. Let's say hi to everyone in the chat first. So let's go back. Coffee Brewing, Mr. England, hello. Good morning. Alan, hello. Antonio. Peter is here. Good morning, Peter. Shipu, oink. That's Taurus, hello. John Meeking, hi. Coffee as well. Bruce. Time keeps passing. Yes, getting older and older every day, unfortunately. Chris, already said hi to. David Essa, hello. Brennan's here, hello. Go to sleep. 3:30 in the morning. Almost 4 o'clock now, 20 to 4. Go to sleep. Thanks for saying hi, but seriously, don't stay up for this. Crazy. Dick Dubilis, hello. Graham Noobs, hi. Code Torex, hello Code Torex. Christopher's, perfect timing. Matt, already said hi to. Pro Engineer, good morning. I love the ×3, it's great. Michael, good morning. Johnny is in the house, everyone. AJ is here. Pew, pew, pew. Robert Mazurowski, I hope I got that right. Guy named Bob from Washington, D.C. Hello, Bob. Hi, Bob. Oh, you guys nice to do that to each other all the time after watching... Oh my God, what's it called again? That show? The show on Apple TV? Yeah, anyway, space show, whatever. We used to go, hi, Bob, all the time. Sorry about that little interlude. Platinum 21, hi. Alex, hello. Sid, good morning, Sid. X Micron, John. Clayton is here. Hello, John. Wonder if one would like to make which pins? Not foundation. The other one. The space. The one about the alternate history where they go to the moon and they go to Mars and oh my God, For All Mankind. Thank you for All Mankind. Anyway, the first season. Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. Yeah, that was a Futurama. No, that was it. Don't castellate pins unless you really need them castellated, because castellation is expensive. And it also makes panelizing a board harder. So yeah, only do it if you need to, like really need to. Yeah, Futurama. Okay, so all my PCBs. So okay, this thing. We won't spend too long on this. I promise. This thing, we're getting there. I'm still chipping away at it. I've been busy doing other stuff, which is good, but it's got a name. I've named it the product. Oh, look at that, coffee stains on my table. God, I didn't even clean my desk first. These cups, they leaky on the bottom. Okay, so this is the name. I couldn't get the audio working in time, but you'll see the name. I'm going to just reset it. There you go. So that's its name. And so to show you what I've been working on, I did a very big rewrite of things and the way the whole screens, yes, that is the name, Squixle. Squixle. You can now have as many screens as you want, and you can drag up and down. I mean, they're the only two I've got hooked up at the moment, but yeah. So I did all sorts of things, and I eventually removed them and went to just different screens. I had a thing where you could click a button here and it would open up an overlay over the top, and it was just getting a bit crazy. I mean, as nice as the visuals that I'm doing were, it's still a microcontroller, and the more layers with transparency and stuff, the more bogged down it gets, and the slower the frame rate and stuff. And yeah, Larry's been doing a bang up job on the graphics library and adding features and stuff for me, but it's still a microcontroller, right? You can have as many as you want, as long as it's two. No, so it works very similar to the way my Tiny Watch firmware does. You create a screen reference, and you can put whatever you want on that screen, and then you set up the navigation. So you say, this screen, if I swipe to the right, it goes to this screen, and that automatically sets left back to that again. It's really simple code. So yeah, and you can have different colored screens, and then you can put images on the anyway, the point is getting there. The hardware, so all the PCBs are done. I'm just waiting on a couple of stencils. They have to remake a couple of stencils. That'll all be shipping this week, today or tomorrow, and so I should have them early next week, and they are production PCBs. And then I start making some. I'm going to make a first batch and put them on my store. And oh, right. So just quickly, so I've decided that I'll be selling this and the dock separately, right? But you can't do anything with this without a connection, right? The dock itself is too expensive. Okay, it's just a pricing thing, right? This is heavy and expensive to ship, and to put it all together. I'm always streaming this time. Wagon Loads, hello Wagon Loads. Anyway, so but not everyone's going to want a dock, but people need to be able to program it, right? So I designed. This is just a prototype, right? That's not a PCB. That's just a 3D print. So this is a USB connector that also has a magnetic connector in it, like that, and it connects on the back here. Oops, you can't even see. It connects on the back there, and it all sits flush when it's connected. So you can, I can't plug this in, right? Because it's not real, but you can, so it'll ship with this, put your USB in there, and that's how you can flash it and charge it. And then of course you can use it, it'll ship with a battery. You can use it like this. But if you want the dock, you can buy the dock as well. And then, oops, I'm gonna plug it in. And then you've got the dock. So that's the compromise I came with, because if to include the dock when you didn't necessarily want the dock, and to pay for the dock if you didn't want it, really push the price up. Yeah. I had done the costing on it, by the way. I do know how much it's going to sell for. I think I might just leave it as a surprise for everyone. You can take that as a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm pretty sure last week I made it pretty clear that it wasn't going to be a cheap thing. And the fact is, the BOM on it is just insane. It's just insane. Rust on ESP32. Yep, people are using Rust. There is a, I don't know how well it's being maintained. It was for a while, but last time I looked, it looked like it was being maintained well. But I don't know. That was quite a while ago. I'm not a fan of Rust myself, so yeah. Yeah, it's $999 just for the dock. No, it's not. Yeah. It'll be under $1,000, I promise. If you just use Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, sorry, Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio. All your development work for ESP32, you should be using Visual Studio Code, unless you're stuck in the actual Arduino IDE. People use anything. Did you know there are people out there who are programming C++? Unironically, crazy. Yeah, totally crazy. Those C++ crazy people. Terrible. Anyway, so, yeah. Okay. I was going to talk about a fatal flaw that I found with all of this. I will. It's an interesting thing. This has thrown me for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I finally worked out yesterday what the problem was. This is not a problem with my hardware design. It's a problem with the ESP32 and their RGB peripheral, which is driving this screen. So this is just a quick side step thing, but I think it's interesting. These screens don't have a frame buffer, right? The frame buffer for the screen. So a normal screen that you get, like the ones on, you know, on Tiny Watch, like this touch screen here, or you know, these screens and whatever else, they all have screen memory that you write to, right? But these don't. And so it relies on a frame buffer on the MCU side, which is fine. But because this is 480 by 480 with color 565, there's not enough memory in SRAM, not enough contiguous memory in SRAM for a frame buffer. So you have to use PSRAM, and which is fine. The peripheral can use PSRAM. It can do single buffer, double buffer PSRAM. The configuration for it all, it does it all itself. It's really good. And these have got 8 meg of octal PSRAM, so the PSRAM is super duper fast, right? It's great. The problem is, on an ESP32, unless you do, well, even if you did your own external flash and external PSRAM, you still can't really put them on separate SPI buses. They both share the same SPI bus. You can put them on separate SPI buses yourself, but then you have to change all the ESP IDF firmware to support that, because by default, the ESP32, like the IDF, all the low-level stuff, assumes the same bus. Like, they've got all the pins already configured that you're supposed to use for them. And in the case of this, I'm using octal PSRAM that is inside the chip. It's a ESP32 S3 R8, and I'm using external flash, but they still share the same bus, right? The problem is these screens, the parallel bus, the way they work, the RGB peripheral, they are constantly streaming the buffer to the screen, kind of like a CRT used to. They use a, there's like a H-sync, a V-sync. There's a, instead of blanking, they do what's called a front porch and a back porch. So the front porch is the bit before, the back porch is the bit at the end. So there's a horizontal front and back, and there's a vertical front and back, and V-sync and H-sync, and it's constantly spamming the picture to the screen, which is great. What happens when you need to use the flash? So I had this issue where I'd be using it, like especially on a first power up, where everything would be good, and then all of a sudden everything would shift to the left a percentage. Could be half the screen, could be whatever, and then it thought that the 0 point was here, and it would draw everything off there and then onto this side, right? It was quite painful, and I couldn't work it out. And it turns out it was whenever I was trying to save the settings, the user settings or something, or read something off flash, it would interfere with the PSRAM because they're both on the same bus, and the display would misbehave. And there is no fix for that, because at the end of the day, a display of this resolution or above, right, that uses this peripheral has to use PSRAM for the frame buffer. There's no choice. And flash, unless you go external flash on a different SPI bus, then you got your flash and your PSRAM shared. So that's a pretty bad design flaw on the ESP32 side, that the peripheral doesn't allow for interruption for flash access, right? That should be something that should be handled by the ESP32 low level. No, it doesn't work that way, because you don't have access to H-sync, V-sync. It's all done. It's its own peripheral. It's not in software. Hey, Brennan. No worries. Have a good sleep. Yeah, I'll chat with you tomorrow. How about the ESP32 P6? The P75, the S32. Well, the S3, only the S3 has this RGB peripheral, so it's only the S3. But that would be the same for anything that shares that requires the PSRAM. So AJ, it's not, we don't have access to that. You can get a callback on the V-sync, but there's not enough time. Like, you can't tell it to wait. You can't halt the screen. It'll get corrupt. And you can't fit in a, get access to the file system, write something, and close the file system in the space of a front or back porch or whatever. Like, but there is a solution. I've got a solution. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy solution. So you meant, right, but the P4 is a very different chip. I don't even know if there's an RGB peripheral on the P4, but it doesn't matter, because the P4's, it's a, it doesn't have any wireless, and there's other things it doesn't have. It's a different chip for a different something else, right? Crazy is what we come here for. So what I did, so the problem gets worse the faster the SPI bus is. Squinty on pixels, just, it's, I wanted something, okay, I'll get to the name in a minute. So the faster the bus, the worse the problem is. But even if you can't with the plum slot, doing it at least in sync with the start of lines, the drawing will not get offset. But I don't have access to that. like I can get a call back when the VSync is finished, like, right? But it's already started the next one. Like, do you understand? Like, it's look at the docs for the peripheral if you feel like it, and you'll understand, right? This is it's not something you can interact with. Okay, so the faster the SPI bus, the better the refresh rate on the screen, the worse the problem is. So the way I got around it for now is I run the bus really slow. Instead of running at 16 megahertz, I'm running it at 6 megahertz. The slower the bus, the less issue, or the contention for the screen goes away. This is their solution, by the way, in the documentation. So they have the ability to change the bus, the SPI clock speed. So I thought, okay, great. So what I can do is whenever I need to read or write from flash, I just slow everything down to 6 megahertz, do the read and write on the flash, and then put it back to 16 or 12 megahertz, whatever, right? And that would work. That doesn't work because if you read the fine print, the changing of the bus speed doesn't happen immediately. It sets a register, and then at the end of the VSync, it then changes the bus speed. So you don't, unless you subscribe to a callback on the VSync change, you don't know when the bus speed is going to actually change, and so you don't know when you can start using the flash or not. It's complicated, and you can't stop and pause. You can't wait for the callback. You can't say, I need to use the flash, change the speed. Like, I can't be in the middle of a save command but have it non-blocking where it starts the save command and then it waits for a callback to be able to continue the save. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to get really problematic. Right, but none of my file systemy stuff is that. Like, I'm relying on, a little FS library file system stuff that isn't async, right? So anyway, but right now at 6 megahertz, everything runs fine, and you'd think that would be a problem for the screen, but as you can see, it actually runs really nicely still. Maybe if I was playing back full screen animation, it wouldn't, but it's fine. And the slower the speed, the less battery and processing it takes. So how's that for a crazy thing? So 2 weeks it took me to work out that it happened as it was trying to save some data. And I only found out because I was putting logs everywhere, spamming logs everywhere. And I happened to notice after like 3 or 4 times that it happened at the save point. Didn't even occur to me that there was going to be a problem. But of course, if it's constantly accessing and spamming PSRAM, what's going to happen when you try to use the flash, right? Anyway, it's a balance at the moment. So Larry's going to add the ability for me to into his library to set the clock speed. And I don't know if he's going to do the callback thing or not. And I'll try it. Thanks, John. Look, it's come up really well. The only thing I need to decide now, and it's an aesthetic thing. I feel like I want to put more magnets on to allow. Okay, so one thing I should add is there's this thing that'll come with it, right? There's the dock, but I also want to make a wall mount. So something that can allow this to be put on a wall or on something, right? So it's vertical. So like a case that it sits in, that would be mounted to, I guess, to a wall, or that could be on a fridge or something. But the idea is that it would fit into this thing and stay there magnetically and still have the charging or whatever on there, and then you can pull it out. So I don't know if it'll be a passive one or an active one. probably still get 10 frames a second at 6 megahertz. I don't know, maybe not 10, maybe. It depends what it's doing. I'm doing some pretty insane stuff. Like this is all alpha blending and transparency, and you know, like when you that still work. Like that whole fade in and fade out here. Oop. See all that? Like that is multiple layers of alpha blended graphics to make the background not get destroyed. You know what I mean? So that's not just a frame it's writing. I mean, it's a frame it's writing when the screen's not updating. So this is only being redrawn once a second because that's changing. And only this section of it's being redrawn, and then it all gets laid together. So to give you an example, if I go into bug mode, they're the 3 widgets that are on that screen that can be updated, and everything that's pink doesn't need a change. So this is blitted onto the background where pink is the transparent color. Does that make sense? It's really complicated. It's not, yeah, it's you don't normally see this type of stuff when you're looking at graphics on a microcontroller on a TFT. Like, I'm really trying to push how this all works. And so the point is, when I'm swiping, right, it knows that it has to do the full draw, but then when it gets back here, it's only recalculating those, or in this case, this one. That hasn't changed. It knows it hasn't changed. So that image, that part of it stored in its sprite unchanged, that just gets splattered back on. And the same with this. But when I click that whole section down there gets animated. So the frame time goes up while that's happening, and then it settles back down again. I've tried to make it as performant as possible. Anyway, but at 6 mega, I'm not sure if you saw that. Look at the bottom. You see that bottom? So at 6 megahertz, there's a PSRAM cache issue where it's not timing the cache release properly because it's all too slow. So that little artifact on the bottom, that doesn't happen when I'm running at a faster speed. So I want to see if I can get that change happening. Other than that, anyway, okay, let's get on to what we're here for, the PCB stuff. PCBs, yay. Okay, sorry about that. It's just been, I've taken on a lot. So the software on this is just a demo. Like, you know, and so my plan is to have a whole bunch of little demos of things you could, like, just things like, here's a clock, here's a whatever, here's a demo of how you can do 2 screens, right? And you can put whatever you like on them, and then so starting points for people for little things. But I'm going to keep working on this firmware of whatever this is that I'm making till I've got it to a point where it's something, but I don't know what it is, right? But it'll be a firmware that you can put on there, but the source will be out there, so you can do what you want with it, right? Great front panel for anything you want to control. Absolutely, you can be. My next thing is to start putting controls back in, like sliders, and like you would have seen. Really, I need to. No, that's not the one. So this screen here is going to be the settings screen. I started working on putting some icons on. This was originally going to be buttons, but I need to start working on like proper buttons and sliders and all sorts of things, right? That's my next thing. And I started working on theming, light and dark theme and whatever. This is going to be a work in progress that goes on for many, many, many months, that people will be able to update onto their device if they want to, if they've got one. But I am going to have small little starting off projects, you know, if people want to develop their own, whatever their project is for their own use, without all of the stuff that I've got in this. I'll give them starting points for that, if that makes sense. Johnny and his home assistant. No. Okay. Just reading back. Was there anything else? No? Okay, right, cool. Let's build some PCBs. I'm going to go down and get the paste, which it's probably gone cold again now. I did warm it up. Okay. Paste in hand. Yay. Paste cold. Like, yeah, my coffee's, well, it's empty now, but it was cold. Okay. I miss anything? No. What? Okay. Can you not reheat coffee in the reflow oven? Yeah, I wouldn't put a paper cup in the reflow oven or in the microwave. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the other PCB cam, which may or may not be in the right position. Let's find out. Okay. I'll do my best to keep everything under the camera. Hopefully you'll continue to hear me okay. I've got two stencils here. Hope that's in focus. This is the carrier board one. I've already got a board in there ready to go. And this one, I did a little 3D print to hold this in because these are 0.8mm and I didn't have any of these discarded cards or anything with 8mm PCBs, 0.8mm PCBs.
Alan Madsen says put the chat on the display and bring it with you.
Yeah, it's not a web browser. Although, can I just quickly say, I gotta come back. I want to mention this. It was a really great idea after my last stream. So you can't do there's no web browser for these. You can't run a web browser. You can't do anything like that on an ESP32. But someone mentioned on my stream last week in chat that what you could do is you could render a web page like on a server somewhere, like using a Python, render it as an image, and then you can display the images on the device. So if you think about it, this thing could be just reading off a server, you know, like every 10 seconds or 30 seconds, could be rendering an image of your Home Assistant dashboard, right, that's running on a Python script on here. So you could still see like what was on a web page. You only got 480 by 480, but that's actually an interesting way of being able to see a web page. And you could technically, with these Python frameworks for doing web stuff, you could make it interactive. Like you could register a touch on here. It could send a touch position back to the server, which could then do what it does on the website, render the image, send it back. And you could kind of mimic a web page, a very minimal web page. But how cool could that be? Anyway, you can make a YouTube chat client. Yeah, it's not quite big enough to show everyone's chat, I don't think. But yeah, okay, let's get back. Let's do this. I really want to know if this is going to work. So we're going to start. Am I going to paste them both to start with? We'll do one at a time. I don't know. Maybe we'll do one at a time. guess they could just stay there pasted. I'm just... yeah, I don't know. No, maybe not. Okay, paste. We don't want much. We don't need much. Spatula. Okay. Cool. I'm just going to scrape a little bit off. It's left a little bit on there. Yeah, okay. And should I paste the other one at the same time? No, I'll wait. I'll do the other one in a minute. Okay. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, stuck to the stencil. Are we good? We're good. How am I going to get that out? I didn't think about getting it out. Okay, there we go. Move this out the way. Okay, so let's see if we can get this in the right spot. Is that clear? Can everyone see? I know the board's small. I can't do much about that. But how does that look? Can you see that clear enough? Yes, no, yes, no. Maybe everyone's gone to sleep.
Alan Madsen says looks fine.
Okay. Typing a response doesn't help me, folks. I can't see the chat. So unless you say it out loud, I can't hear it. Okay, let's go. We're going to start with the 0.1 microfarad caps. Oh, don't have any. I'm out of 1 microfarads. Interesting.
Scotty says I see a tiny board lol.
Yes. Tiny board. Okay, so there's a 0.1 caps. We have
Rick
6.
the Almighty says you need to make bigger PCB so we can see better. PR0 engineer says if it was any better, I'd think the video was AI generated.
Yes. I gotta make bigger boards just so they video better. Wait, what? That's not right. You go there. Okay, that's fine. I'll fix that in the pick and place file.
Alan Madsen says let's see the edges.
What, sorry, about the edges? Something about the edges. Is that an EDGES3 gag? Okay, I need to...
Alan Madsen says let's see the edges.
Let's see the edges, right? Okay. I need to refill 1 microfarad. Oh, empty. Oh, bam. How many do I need? Might have enough here. 5. I don't think I've got 5 in here. Where I've got 1, 2, 3. Ah, that's annoying. I need to go get some from downstairs. Oh, that's annoying, folks. Sorry, I need to go downstairs, grab a reel of 0.402 1 microfarad caps.
Captain Kirk says if PCBs get any smaller, you will need robotic tweezers and a microscope to make them.
I can't hear the chat when I'm downstairs, but I'm just going to read back what you wrote.
PR0 engineer says that's real. Why annoying? I just realized this is a visual gag and will lose its appeal in voice chat. P.
Really annoying. Ha. Very funny. The stair escalator. I still want to do the jump over the back.
Scotty says real yee.
Really. Thank God I've got a few. I might have a few of these. I go through a lot of them. Surprise, surprise. Okay. It's going to, I know you can't really see what I'm doing. That's okay. Oh, I need to get to the start point.
PR0 engineer says fireman pole.
I need to, where are we? There we are. Okay. Okay, that's enough for now. Put it on the floor.
Scotty says firefighter pole. I was corrected today at the gym.
Firefighters. What else is that? A dancing? Isn't it a, what do you call it, Paul? What are they called? Anyway. Okay, let's do these. These are the ones.
PR0 engineer says stripper.
Strip pole. Yeah. No? Wait, what's going on? 1, 2. Three.
Alex Harvey says I don't think that would help you get downstairs any faster.
A pole? Oh yeah, it would. As long as there was something bouncy at the bottom. It won't help me get back up though. Can everyone hear the bird on the roof?
Alan Madsen says it's now OMW that shows their body person. PR0 engineer says slippery slide.
Wait, what? 10 microfarad 0402? I don't think so. It's interesting. I don't have any of those. So, let me think. Okay, we have to put 2.2s. 2.2s. Where's the start? Here we go. So I need 3 of these. Birds tap, tap, tapping. Go away, birds. One, 2, and 3. Okay.
Ajard Vark says emus.
100 Ks, I'm out. What is going on in this shoddy establishment? I've got stacks of them here. I hope you can't. Okay. I should have checked all this and refilled it all before the stream, but I was a little preoccupied doing things I shouldn't have been doing. Okay, looks like I'm also out of 10Ks. Okay, that'll do for now. I'm just gonna piles of parts to put away later. Okay, I need 6 of these. Hmm. 2, 3, 4, 5, one more, 6. Okay, 3.3. Actually, I think I want that to be 5.1. So that 3.3 down here is actually for an LED. I'm going to make it, put a 5.1 there instead, because the LED will be too bright otherwise. And it's the same with this one over here. So hold on. Do I not have any VBus sense on here? No, I don't. Because I don't have any spare I/O. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's also 5.1. It's for the charge LED. Okay, 10K. I just need 2 of them. I should have enough of those. Do I have 2? I do. Good. 1, 2. These are for the I2C bus. All over here. So this board's got a fuel gauge on it for the battery support. And it's got that little I/O expander. The thing that prevented me from doing this last week was a little guy that fits here. Where is he? This guy here. I forgot to order him. This is a little, look at that, little tiny 8-port I/O expander. Can you even see it? I don't know if you can see it. This guy here. So I thought I ordered them and I forgot. I don't know why I just put that on now. Why are they both? Oh, okay, right. That's for the addresses. So I don't know what address I need. Where's my 0? 0 ohm. 0 ohm resistor. I've left 2 spots for the address pin on it. I'm just going to populate one of them. I left 2 just in case on this prototype, but I'm pretty sure I just need 1. So I'm just going to do this one, which is the one that's to ground. Okay, because I can't leave it floating. Okay, what else? 1.5. I really need to put
Dutch
these
Taurus
away.
says we're still here, just watching in awe.
Just watching grass grow. Watching paint dry. Okay, I need to start putting these things back when I... Wait, that's not right. I just picked up a 15. The 1.5 I need. Ooh. 1.5R. I've got a 1R5 and a 1.5R next to each other. So 1.5 ohms and 15 ohms. And I picked up the wrong one. Lucky I realized. Okay, TVSs. Those I filled this morning because I knew I was out. I need 3 of those.
Alan Madsen says not grass, but a PCB growing.
PC, well, at least it's green, the PCB. So we can like pretend it's grass. These are all really close to the edge of the board.
PR0 engineer says, is there a keyboard shortcut to turn off snapping in the new PCB new?
I have no idea. Sorry?
Aardvark says, is the PCB greener on the other side?
Always. Always. It's always greener when it's black. Did you know that? Okay, so it's the Schottky and the little FET. I need to put LEDs on. I've got blue LED here. I'm going to put a blue LED for the power. Please don't ask me for a pink one for the stat because I don't have pink in 0402. Just because I'm lazy, I'm going to put blue for the charge as well because it's right there. Need an LDO. Not that one. That'll do. Okay, what am I missing? What's that? Oh, I'm missing out 0.1. Okay. Got the battery charge and the fuel
Magtachi
gauge.
says good morning.
What? Can't see the marker. I think it's there. I think that's right. The marker on the silk screen is a bit hard to see. Now I have to go get the RF parts and populate those. But that's everything else except for the chip. Now, some of you might have noticed on the back of the board, there were 2 little white marks. Did anyone notice? One says 2 megabytes, one says 8 megabytes. Hey, Mad Techie. Everyone see maybe that there's 8 megabytes, 2 megabytes. So these are using the Pico 1 chips. As you can notice, I haven't placed an external crystal or anything. So I'm using a Pico chip, and they come in a 2 meg and an 8 meg PS RAM variety. I use the 2 meg ones on EDGES3, on TinyWatch, on other things. I can't get any 8 meg ones. No one has any stock, and especially will only sell them to me in a reel of 2,000 at the moment. And they're a very expensive chip, the most expensive chip in the ESP32 range, and I'm not going to use 2,000 of them. So yeah, I've got a marking on the back that I might make either, but right now I'll only be shipping a 2 meg version. Okay, I'm just getting my Johansson parts to do the RF. Okay. There's 5 parts I need to pull out. I'm going to do them one at a time because they all look, most of them look the same, and so once I put them on the thing, I won't know which one's which. And that would be very bad for the RF layout if I mixed them up. So 1, you go here. Yeah, 2.4.
PR0 engineer says the RF lucky dip.
It's a lucky dip, hoping that I've picked the right part, put it in the right spot. This is inductor number 2, so there's 3 inductors and 2 caps. Inductor number 2. Inductor number 3. So obviously I can't test this without the carrier. I can't even power it without the carrier. So go there. Okay, it's 3 inductors. Now let's do the caps. I need a 1 picofarad. And 1 more. .6. Get out. Whoop. Knocked it. I think that'll be fine. Okay. Starting up the hot plate. Okay, I think that is all good. Everything is on there. I haven't missed anything. Okay, so let's pick it up if I can. Pick it up. Put it on the hot plate. Move this out the way. Bring in the hot plate without burning myself. I don't know how well that's going to be in focus, but it is what it is. Get my exhaust fan, turn it on. Okay. You can all see that? Can you see it? I'm just looking over here. Yeah. It's good enough.
PR0 engineer says I love the smell of flux in the morning.
Yes. Coffee, flux, and napalm. All together. Okay. 112 degrees. You can see the temp if I do that. Can you see the temp? Maybe, maybe not. Can't really turn it anymore because, yeah. Okay, 135. Bum, bum, bum. Dun, dun, dun. 160. $170. Ooh, that smell. Okay, it's reflowing. Maybe you'll be able to see, maybe you won't. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Yep, good. Done. Done. Okay, now I've got to get it off without wrecking it. Turn it off. Let's not drop it. Okay, let's move this out of the way. We now have to do this guy. Just turn the fan off, the exhaust off for a moment. Okay, let's do this guy. He won't take long. Not as many parts. Oh, way too much paste. Oh well. I think that looks good. Let me just double check it. Okay. Oh, knocked my hand, dropped the thing. All good. That battery connector is really close to the edge. I might want to change that. Okay, that goes there. Put the paste away before I put my hand in it. Here. Okay. Wow, good paste job actually. Surprised. I surprise myself sometimes. Okay, so let's do this. Okay. A couple of 10 microfarad caps. Anyone see what I'm doing? Okay, move that out of the way. Let's center this, maybe. Okay, so one cap here. I'm not going to solder headers on this. I don't need the headers. I just need to check the board enumerates and make sure everything on it is working. Okay, backfeed diode. I kind of know what most of these are. Okay, even though there is ESD protection on the Edge S3, I've also added it on here. Idiot. Flip. Ones. Three of these. So it's a bigger PCB makes it actually harder for me because things are off to the side. Normally I just move this around, but then it affects you watching. So before we were talking about bigger PCBs easier to see, it's not easier for me to work on. Poor me. Okay, and over here. Okay, another blue LED. Because why not? They're my favorite. That's for 3.3 volt. Just shows that 3.3 volts is working. I need two buttons. Two SMD buttons. 1, 2. I need a USB. One button here. One button here. Boot and reset. I need a, well, before I put the USB on, I need Pico blade connector. The battery. The USB on, and then last we'll put the M.2 connector on. So USB. Okay, M.2 goes this way because the opening is there. Oh, that's got a bent pin because I was piss-farting around with it. Okay, I need to get another one. Don't want to put that one on. That's been bad. Well, I could try to fix the pin, but I can do that now. Bent pin. Okay. check this one. Okay, that looks good. There are guide holes, and there's a small hole on that side and a big hole that side. So there's only one way these can go on. Which is good, but I don't know if that's going to bridge or not. Okay, that's all of that. So I'm going to heat this up again. Oh, it's already 104. Good, good. Put this on. That way. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to put the fan, the exhaust. To 135 degrees. How many people are still watching? Oh, 52 people in chat. Wicked. Hi, everyone. Almost done. Then we'll move back over to here. Assuming it works. Okay, 160. $175. $185. Here goes.
PR0 engineer says taking bets on success, current odds are 92% for, 8% against.
8%
Captain Kirk
against.
says, does this PCB have breadboard spacing?
Hang on, I can't hear. I've got the fan going, the exhaust fan. Just hold on. Almost done. That looks good. Wow. I can't. Oh, is that a bridge? That looks like a bridge there. Oh, that could be ground though. Okay, I think it's done. I will have to check bridging and off. I've checked bridging and the PCB layout because there are some pins that are joined on purpose.
Dutch Taurus says, I think you're not the connector.
Okay, so that's off. That's off. Get this one. I'll need that cool down. Let's come back to here. You can never have too many what? I think you knocked the connector. I don't know if I knocked it or not. What do I want? Can't really see these. I'm gonna have to let's see if I can make this go down. And get some more light. That's enough light, not really. As close as I can get. Focus. Right, as close as I can get at the moment. So that's that.
Alan Madsen says, is it time for the magic smoke?
It will be in a minute. Which connector did you think I'd... I'm just checking this. This looks fine. I can't see any issues with the connector, but who knows? Who knows? So there's the carrier. That lighting makes it look like there's a problem through here, but I don't think there is. I'm just going to look under the microscope again. Hang on. Yeah, I think that's just the glow of the flux. The glow of the flux makes it look like there's something happening in there, but I think it's fine. So, okay, we need to, do I want to beep this first, or we just plug it in and try it? I mean, plugging this in might be a problem because it doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. Now, the way these work, I'm just get my mouse out of the way. That's awkward. Okay.
Alan Madsen says beep first.
Yeah, I won't plug it in. Can Otis doesn't do anything. Otis is sitting in pieces over on my desk over there. So these are not a 45 and down one. These are a side slot for that. So I don't even really need the screw to hold it in. That just works like that. So I was trying to look for the 45 and down, but I couldn't get any. So we're going to beep. Okay, I need to open up the project. Maybe not that. Okay, just bear with me a second. Got to be careful what version of KiCad I open it in. That was not the one that what I wanted to open. Well done, idiot. Open with. Okay, so it's the carrier board. Right, so you can see that there are they're joined, and that's where I thought I had the bridge, and they're fine. So it's gonna be hard to beat these not under the microscope, so I can't really see what I'm doing, but I'll do my best. So can everyone hear this? Yeah, the M.2 is fine. There are guide holes. There are guide holes. Like it can't be moved to somewhere it shouldn't be. Those two, yeah. So it's fine. I don't really know how I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't know if I can do this under the, unless I'm under the microscope. Like I know that, yeah, it's too small. I know that these are joined. Yeah, I can't do this under here. I'd have to do it under the microscope. So most of them are just I/O. So it's only this side here and here that are power. And I don't think that there's a problem on those, honestly. I think we should just do it. I think we should just plug it in. You couldn't hear the beep? Maybe it was... yeah, maybe the noise cancelling. I'm just going to plug it in. Let's just do it. Here we go. It's either going to go pop or not. No, didn't go pop. Look at that. 3.3 volts. We've got power and we've got the charge flashing. Look at that. So we want that one. It's not very in focus though.
PR0 engineer says no magic smoke equals winning.
Yeah, but that's, you know, I'm sure you wanted some, didn't you? Not that one. New. Okay, let's make sure it enumerates. /dev/cu.u. Oh, actually, it is, but I gotta be careful. I don't have.
HMS says the crowd demands magic smoke P.
Yeah, I do. I've got the serial monitor over here open. That's not good. You want magic smoke? Yeah. I have to go to a different place. Reminder. Go to my website, everyone. I'm doing a promotion. So I go erase. Let's see if we can erase the flash. We can. We erase the flash. So it enumerates. We can talk to the chip. Yay! What are we going to do with it? Yeah.
Captain Kirk says make a magic smoke emulator.
Sure. Let me just go get. Here you go. You want to see a magic smoke emulator? I'm just going to pour my water on the board while it's powered. No, I won't. I'm joking. Like there's nothing on the board that I can make flash or do anything. You know what I can do? I know what I can do. Let's bring up Arduino IDE. Oh, not that one. Let's select board. We're just gonna tell it.
Matt says it's hello world time.
It's hello world time. What? I missed that. Oh, right. Hello. Okay, I get it now. Right. So I'm going to do an I2C scanner. So you should find two devices. What? Why did it just change my board? EDGES3. So if I flash this on it, we should see it pick up the fuel gauge and the I/O expander. Hey DJ Cash, can you add these?
Alan Madsen says make the blue LED blink pink.
No, I can't add these for pre-sale with my promo. Sorry, I haven't even priced them yet. I don't even know when they're going into production. So sorry. Well, Blink Sketch isn't going to work because there's no LED on there to flash. Here we go. No, there's a, when you check out, there's a enter discount. Hang on. Serial output. Ooh, no devices found. Oh, duh. Why have I got that on there? Let's try that again. It was using the wrong pins. If I add that to my bag, and go to my cart. Here, have a promo code. Redeem your promo code. But you shouldn't be spending any money, Graham. So please don't. So you put it in here. And it will... where's the code? Where did I put the code? How funny. That's my Twitter. You don't need to see my Twitter. Discount coupons.
Captain Kirk says the carrier board fit on a breadboard.
Not really, because, well, not with those pins on the side. Hold on 1 second. So if you go like this and apply, the subtitle's too low. It's going to be $50. Remember, $50 on without shipping. Let's make 2 of them, just so I can show you. And then apply. You can see the discount. Does that make sense? It's at this part, so you can see before you check out. Let's take that out. Okay. Unknown error. What? Unknown error at address. I've never seen that before. It should be 8 and 9.
Dutch Taurus says data line grounded.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to check now. Maybe there's a... 8 and 9. Right, 8 and 9 here. I'll have to check those. They might be. I can check them on the here. Okay, just wait for this code to reflash. What happened? Did that reflash it? Oh, no, here we go, reflashed. Okay, it's finding them now. Right, so obviously I don't have the Nano S3. Oh, Nano S3 won't have I2C set up because there's nothing on it. I should have picked Tiny S3. Okay, that's why. Whew. Wow. Okay. So it's found 2 devices. So that'll be the I/O expander, which I'm pretty sure is 43, and 36 is the fuel gauge. So we know they're working. One question is, the Squixle will be on the store before the end of April? It might be, but I don't... I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's going to be going on sale at the start. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The as I mentioned, the Squixle's got a really high. It's the highest bomb out of anything I've ever made, and it's yeah. I'm not prepared to sell them for nothing, to make nothing on them. So it's just not worth my while. Yeah, the screens are almost $15 each, US, just for the screen. So yeah. Okay, so we know the board's working. We know I2C is working. We can do not that it makes much of a difference, but we can do we have a Wi-Fi examples? Let's do a Wi-Fi scan. And make sure that it picks up enough Wi-Fi access points. Yeah, so 1 million Aussie dollars. Yeah, it's the Aussie dollars. It's bounced back a little bit. It got really bad for about 4 days. So I'm waiting for port bullshit. Sorry. Scan start. 11. 10. The numbers are good, but thought I would have found more. So there's a few things with that. Obviously, I've not done any checking on the VNA, right? I just built it. So I would need to build a couple of these boards unpopulated, but with the RF layout on there to check them. The other interesting thing is just going to be in general that it's sitting on top of another board. And in this particular case, I mean, there's an air gap, and there will be an air gap, I guess, with a connector there. But I've also got a lot of traces on the carrier board underneath. There should still really be an empty zone underneath it, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to experiment. But you know, I think, you know, depending on which way I hold the board will also make a difference to the scan. Why is that not going to say it's finding 12 now if I hold it upright? It finds 12, but my local network has dropped in quality. Oh, right, but if I lay it flat, and this is the problem with all kind of RF layouts, is they're all directional, right? So depending on how, you can't even see what I'm doing, depending on how I'm holding it is going to change what it's seeing. But there's also flux on it. I need to clean it. That'll make a difference. But cool. Okay. We have success. Get LED to one of the GPIO pins and blink it that way. Oh, I could, but do we need to know that that the IO is working? I mean, I'm pretty sure the IO is working. So what I can do is, I just unplug it, and go to here, is we can beep it. We can beep, I forgot that we can beep the IO, although I don't remember what is what. Okay, so these are all IO. All the way on this side. Right, these are all IO, so I can check that none of them are bridged. Although they're not necessarily in the right order. But they're almost all next to each other. Okay, they're all good. And on the other side, it's all IO down to the square pad. Right, so that's ground. And then we've got these are all the I/O expander. They're all next to each other on the thing. Okay, and then we've got, so ground and ground. And then we've got enable on the 3.3 volts, reset. They're all good. And we're ground and ground. Oh, I got those the wrong way around. Interesting. Oh, I fixed it on the next design. That square one should be down there. The version I'm looking at right now has that fixed. This is already sent off. So ground to ground, and then ground is not shorted with any of the power. So yeah, there won't be shorts because they're all, I'll show you this. They are all, see, they're in a row. They're all connected the way they're routed out in order. So if I touch every two is every two along the header. So I know that there's no shorts. Even here, right? They're all in order next to each other. Here, they're all in order next to each other. So, yeah, like even here, they're in order next to each other. So that's good. There's no shorts. Like a directional reflector. It's, yeah, having something underneath the antenna is going to always be a problem, necessarily, you know, whatever. So, there's something I can't talk about yet. Something very exciting happening. Very exciting happening that I can't talk about yet. And it will likely potentially delay me releasing these. It might require me to change the design slightly. I can't talk about it yet. The little connector here, that's for battery. That's for a battery. This carrier is just for prototyping, like it's for development, right? You can put it in, and you got pins out there, and you can develop with this, like this. Like it's not designed, like you wouldn't use that as a development board if it was going to stay a development board, because you could do exactly the same thing with that, right? Which is much smaller. So this is a carrier for development. I wish I could talk about this other thing, but it's too early. Yeah, I can't, but it might delay this if I yeah, interesting. Yeah, not yet. I can't talk about it yet. So I'm not trying to tease, although I know it's a tease, but it's big, potentially big, impactful, and might happen, might not happen. So I'm just cleaning my glasses. I don't have a glasses cleaner, so I'm using my t-shirt. Giant S3, no. Big. The Pro S3 ISO edition, no. No, there's something I'm working on. Some people know about it. My supporters know about it. My Patreon supporters know about it. There's something I'm working on that needs to be resolved, decided upon, because it might be premature releasing this as is. What did Matt say? Oh, the ISO Pro 3 ISO edition. Or I should just do this ISO edition with the big connectors, you know, the old edge connector, big board, and the whole PCB is empty except for a little tiny thing on the side. It'd be funny. That'd be very funny. Yeah. Interesting sound. Hadn't even thought about it till today, till just now. Okay, not sure where to go from here. The board works. It's validated. The connectors work. I didn't get the keying back to front. I thought I would. So that's good. I did double check it like 50 times. Also, just go back to here just to mention, I was talking about the antenna area. I did, like there is ground plane here, right? But I did make sure that the routing went around the antenna, right? But what I should have done really is put a keep out top and bottom. I should have done something like that, right, for the antenna area to make sure there was nothing there at all. Does this have the 3D viewer set up? Yep, it does, right, okay. So you can see there I've got the keep out there. I should have done that, and I'll do that on the carrier board. So I'll put these in stock. You'll be able to buy these, but the design for them will also be online. Hey Aaron, the KiCad files will be in GitHub as well when it gets released. So you can use this as a reference for designing your own carrier or for designing whatever, but using the M.2, that the part details will be there. Do you see the pinout you've done for the M2 connector becoming your standard? Meaning you may provide other board variations that can use the same connector. Yes, so it's a good question. It's one I've already been asked before. So right now, like a C6 doesn't make any sense because there's half the amount of I/O, and it would require more space because the chip's slightly smaller, but it needs an external crystal, and well, maybe not external flash. I've got some chips coming, some samples coming with 8 meg of flash inside them. I've got C6 with 4 meg of flash. That's what I use on. No, I don't use those. I use the C6 with no flash inside on my tiny C6, and I add 8 meg of external flash. There's no room on here to put a C6 8 meg external flash or any external flash and a crystal. It's the same reason I don't have an OMG C6 because there's no room on the board. But with the new 8 meg flash into built-in C6 coming, the samples, I would potentially look at that. I have considered, and I might consider doing an RP2350. No. You want to have no interference from the ground plane. That won't, you don't want to, you want to just remove the ground plane. So RP2350 maybe, and someone on my stream the week before, asked about an STM32 variant. I'm not sure about that. What STM32, right? But yes. So the reason I chose this and not, so you got to remember what I've done with this board, which is very different to what SparkFun have done, which is why I didn't use their, and I'm trying to find the right, where am I? Right. It's why I didn't use their pinout, right? Whatever their product's called, I can't remember, but their one is not the same as mine. Theirs is a microcontroller and whatever you need for the micro, passives and flash or whatever, on the board, and all the rest of the functionality is off the board, Okay, theirs is just it's like an expressive module. It's just the microcontroller. And sure, they've got lots of different microcontrollers and stuff like that. But what that means is everything else, yeah, for the micro mod, everything else, thank you, Bruce, everything else, your regulators, your battery charging, blah, 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 everything's off their module. It's somewhere else. And so they have tied up a lot of their connectors, a lot of the pins on the connector for external peripherals, right? Where mine is something different. Mine is a complete microcontroller on the chip, on the module, right? You don't even need USB unless you need a way to flash it, right? But like on a product, people don't put USB connectors on a product, like a shipping product. You know, that I'm not talking about for charging or whatever, but you know, like a proper commercial product generally doesn't have a programming port, like a USB port that someone can plug it into the computer and inspect the flash, right? Doesn't necessarily have a boot or reset button, stuff like that. They're external off the module, but everything else is on the module. So the whole idea is this is a complete solution to go on a board, like all the rest of my modules, Nano S3, OMG S3, where it does everything for you. There's only a couple of things you may or may not need during development. So I couldn't use their pinout because I would have not been able to use a bunch of their pins because they wouldn't have been compatible, which would have only left me like a third of the number of pins left to break out I/O. Where on mine, I ran out of pins. I didn't run out of pins. I ran out of I/O. There's some I/O that aren't used. I/Os. There are some pins that aren't used that I just made them ground and stuff. But I've broken out every single I/O I can. The problem is, if I do a C6, half these I/O won't be there. So it can't be drop-in compatible. If someone uses the S3, like the EDGES3, designs a carrier and uses a whole bunch of I/O, like pins, and then puts a C6 in, half of the pins they chose might not be there. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So yes, it's a standard for me. I would like to make more boards that use it. One of the reasons I stuck the I/O expander on it, and sure, there's only 8 extra pins, but that is to give 8 extra pins, and those 8 extra pins could be there on any micro I put down with the I/O expander that stays there, right? So, but yeah, yes. Okay, that was a really long-winded answer to yes. I'd like to do more other MCUs in this format. Does that answer your question, Aaron? And if you have a MCU request, ask. You know, like the guy had asked me about the STM32, I went back to him saying, sure, which STM32? Because, you know, there's only like 100 different chips, and the small ones are kind of pointless. Like, you need to be able to flash it. So, like, it needs a D+, D-. Even though in this case, the RX and TX pins are broken out. And you could put a serial UART connected to those, right, to flash it. You know, you don't need the USB, but the D+ and D-, like, you know, it would be a pain to put a chip on here that doesn't have the USB of some form, even if it's only serial UART built in, like the C series do, right? So a lot of the small STM32s, even the newer ones, but the little ones, they don't have any form of native USB. You still need an external something to flash them, and it's normally something like a J-Link or a whatever, and I don't have any of that broken out. Like, you know what I mean? So I do have the SWD pins over here broken out. So anyway, here's a market mod for that. Also STM32 in that series. Right, but again, they're an MCU on a module, and you add everything else externally, where that's not what mine is. So don't swap pin assignments or functions like power pins, always power pins and IO pins. Right, but the IO pins might not be there. You might use that pin and that pin and that pin for something, but a C6 variant has only got half the IO, so all of these IO might not be connected to anything, and then the board won't work on yours, right? I can't populate IO if they don't exist on the microcontroller. So yes, all the power will stay in the same place and all the IO will stay in the same place. But that doesn't mean it'll be fully populated or fully compatible. Anyway, like an S100 bus version. Huh, very funny. Probably not. It's a shame you can't get those last 3 backside traces behind the M.2 screw. These ones here? Look, I could. I could, you know, do naughty things, like things I don't like doing, but I could bring that around there, right? And free up some more space. You know, like I could take them all around. I could take... Could probably get one of them. Oh, maybe I'd get all 3. I don't know. There was a reason why I didn't do it. I can't remember what it was. Right, at that point, I know why. Yeah, so I can't do that. Right now, that hole on the carrier is just for an M.2 screw. But if it's going to be a solder nut is this circle, the outside circle. That is the hole for a solder nut. So that hole is right on the edge here. I can't get any more traces through there. So for now, what I did, I just drew them like this. So that would be the hole for a solder nut, and this would be the outside circumference of the solder nut. Does that make sense? No, it won't make magic smoke, but it might not work with the pins you've chosen, right? So, yeah. So right now, like in terms of other MCUs, nothing in the ESP32 range really excites me that much. The C61, I'm waiting for. I'm still waiting for samples. They've been pushed back again. The C5, still waiting on samples. That's been pushed back again. I know that there were like dev kits around and stuff, but you got to remember they all use sample MCUs, and they're not final MCUs, and like things have changed. Like, so the C5 has been bumped 2 times already, version wise. Still hasn't gone into mass since those dev boards came out, the ones that were floating around. It's been bumped twice then, and it's still not been approved for mass manufacturing, and it looks like they're doing another version. The P4's been bumped 2 times, and they're thinking now about another time. Actually, no, more than 2 times. So again, I've got samples of P4s coming, but they're 3 versions behind. And the current version might not go into manufacturing yet, mass manufacturing. They might bump it one more time. So of what's available right now, you know, I made the tiny C6. The C6 it's a cool chip, but it's got less SRAM, no PSRAM support, and at the time, at the time, I only had the 4 meg of flash option internally, so it needed external flash. Thank you. Oh, excuse me. Wow. I must be allergic to Espressive's new chips because I'm talking about them and sneezing. Crazy. But now that, as I said, the 8 meg of flash versions coming, like there's a lack of I/O, which is really frustrating. And we don't know about if the C61 is going to have more I/O or not yet. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern on any Espressive chips that interest me going forward. Like it could be not till the end of the year before I get any chips I can manufacture with of any of those three. And the RP2350 is just, it's being done to death by everyone right now. Like, you know, I've got nothing I can really contribute. Like if I made I mean, there's already a tiny RP2350 like brand name, right? Primarily brought out their small boards and copied my naming, and now I can't use those names. That's okay. But like, what would I put on a tiny? Like, I could make an RP2350 that's compatible with my tiny series. But what for? It's got no radio or anything else like that. All you'd get is, you know, PIO on a PIO with a board that's got less flash and less or no PS RAM than my Espressive boards have in that size. Why would you use it, right? And then from a feather point of view, that's been, you know, stacks of RP boards out there, and then, you know, bigger boards. That's all been covered. I don't know what else I'll do. You can move those 3 traces to the other side of the board. Make the blue traces red. No, they won't. They still won't fit. No. As I said, this is supposed to be that's the size of the hole. It's actually more like that. That's the size of the hole. If I put these on the, I can't put them on the top side because they start on the bottom. I'm not going to jump layers twice just to get them on the other side. Like, what for? There's nothing wrong with them being here. Love this project. What is this project? Pico Logic Analyzer. Yeah, some people doing some really great stuff with PIO. Absolutely, PIO is awesome. I get it, but what I'm saying is, what am I going to bring to the table, sticking an RP2350 on one of my footprint boards that there isn't already an offering elsewhere? So that's all I'm saying. Let's see, the 6 variant with some IO expanders would be great for IoT products. Okay, but why in this format then? Like my tiny C6, right? You got USB on it, you got everything else already on there. Like, why? You know, if you think about it, hang on. So why do you need that in a tiny C6 format? Or in a C, when you, like, you're not quite on. I mean, sure, that's bigger. It's bigger, but it's got the USB in the butt. It's got everything you need and a whole bunch of I/O and everything ready to go. Like, that's a tiny S3. Try it again. You got the wrong board. Oh, I've only got. Oh no, that one. What the? How did a tiny S3 end up in a tiny C6 box? That's interesting. Anyway, there you go. Try it again. There you go. So, tiny C6. That's saying gonna right, but I don't think people are going to use that to put in a product that they ship. They're going to integrate something that's already certified, or they're going to just do it themselves on the board. Maybe I don't know, but right. But if you're talking about to go inside an IoT product, it doesn't need IO expanders and all the IO. Like, how many IO do you need on an IoT product? A home automated light switch, or a whatever. You know what I mean? How many IO do you need? 4, 5, 6, 10. Okay, I've broken out like 30 something on this. You don't need 30 something IO for a project like that. If you've got a project that needs a lot of IO, it's not a little IoT project. You know what I mean? The reason that they don't have a lot of IO on these chips is because their customers don't need them. Right? The people that are integrating that want Wi-Fi 6, that want little things like that, only need a small amount for IO. Right, the 8266 had what, 11 IO? Can't remember. Was it 11? Been so long. And that got used everywhere for IoT stuff. So, and they might not need the battery charging, which this has, and it might not need the blah blah blah, the fuel gauge and the. Anyway, that's fine. This is really, I guess, targeted for people like that use my Nano S3 and use my ORM GS3 that want to that don't want to have to deal with designing all of this, where they can just drop it on the board, but in this case, not permanently, right? Like, not solder it directly, but I don't know. This might not even, no one might be interested in this. I did this because I started it a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I started working on this, and I just wanted to finish it. To be honest, I just wanted to get it done, and I guess my expectation is that I'll sell very, very few of them, very few. Right, but packing it out with more IO expanders, I won't have the room for necessarily, and they're not normal IO, right? So they're not the same, because you need to use them through an IO expander, which means if you were using them for a PWM, you can't. If you were using it as an ADC pin, you can't. If you were using it, you know what I mean? Sticking an IO expander IO on those things to make up the difference isn't a solution, because they're not equal. Like, you can't use them for SPI, you can't use them for I2C, you can't use them for anything. No peripherals, right? So every IO that is broken out through an IO expander can only be a digital high and low IO, input or output. That's all it can ever do. And that's, if that's the majority of your IO, that's a problem, I think. Yeah, that could be a use case. Right, but robots wouldn't be using that, or they wouldn't be using, if they need lots of IO, they wouldn't be using a C6. Anyway. Bang. Something just went bang outside. I'm less clear today than I ever was on what people require on their boards, what they expect on their boards, and what they use their boards for. More of my boards get sold via external people, where I have no contact with those people, the customers, than they used to when I first started. Even though I had resellers back then, I used to sell a lot directly myself. I sell very little myself now. And so I have less contact with people who are using my stuff, which means I don't have as much information as, what are you using it for? What are your, what are the pros? What are the negatives about it? it used to be, people used to say, not enough I/O, not enough I/O. With the Tiny Pico, not enough I/O, not enough I/O, right? You know, with the Tiny S3, I did the Pro S3. It's got all the I/O I can broken out, right? But I still sell, you know, 2 or 3 tiny footprint boards to that footprint. So, you know, it's like, happens all the time. Like when you do market research, you ask someone like, what would you need on this thing to want to buy it? And they'll tell you the answer.
Aaron Knox says, so when is Tinadrone coming out, Cian?
I'd love to make a drone, but never, I don't think. You ask them what they want on it and they tell you, but even if you put it on there, they'd never buy it because they were never interested in buying it. So is their opinion valid, right? Someone that says the Tiny C6 doesn't have enough I/O, right? The question is, if it had more I/O, would they buy it? And the answer is no. So there doesn't have enough I/O is a pointless data point because they're not a potential customer anyway, so their expectation isn't valid. Like, do you understand? Like, if you added more I/O, then they'd say, oh, it doesn't have this. And then if you add that, oh, it doesn't have this. Because they weren't ever going to be... I'm not sure if I'm being clear. Whatever. So it's really easy to go down that rabbit hole, you know. Make it smaller, make it bigger, add more, take away stuff. Sellers ruin the market. Up high. Resellers haven't ruined the market. That's a pretty bold statement on one thing about Raspberry Pi. But MC2301, and I have all of my. Well, someone else can put that on there, sure. I'm not sticking one on there, but yeah. I don't know anything about drones. I mean, other than whatever I've watched on YouTube and whatever else. I think the idea of making a little drone might be cute, but stacks of people have already done it and stacks of projects, and I don't need another project right now. I've got too many on right now, and yeah, it's always a balance between projects for fun and income to keep the lights on and stay here and whatever. By the way, I signed my lease. I've re-signed. I'm staying. We were talking about it last week. So I'll be here for another 3 years or until I'm out of business. As I keep telling people, I'm going out of business.
Super chat!
Unexpected drawing sounds creepy. Thanks, Pro Engineer. Yay. Coffee. It is time for coffee. 100%. Coffee and cake, except there's no cake anywhere. So yes, I'm here. I'm staying. I started recording a video yesterday of something new downstairs. I'm excited to let you all know about it, but you'll know about it when I release the video, which might take a little while to make. It's going to be on and off for days or weeks. So yeah, I have to start solving some of the pain points about being here, staying here. Now that I've committed to it, and one of the big ones is the dirty area downstairs, and that's what this video is about. So yeah, the cake is a lie. No, I mentioned a year ago so that you would be interested one day to do an MPU like a Tiny Zero. Are you still to do it? An MPU like a Tiny Zero. What are we talking about? You have to remind me to do an MPU like a Tiny Zero. What's a Tiny Zero? Wait, when did we? Oh, an SBC, right? Okay, I've yeah, me being my ADHD, whoa, wouldn't it be interesting designing an SBC and Sion actually doing it and not the same thing? Like Sion being interested in it and Sion following through to do it. Yeah. Like to me, it sounds like one of those things that would turn into a very long, expensive, frustrating journey that might be fun for you all to watch. May get to something in the end that works, doesn't work, whatever, but would then stop because, oh, it's got no firmware support, it's got no driver support, it's got no anything support. You know, getting hardware to a point where it then relies on firmware and the firmware not happening, well, that's just the story of Sion's life, and Sion should not double down on doing more of them. But I'll always like the idea, sure. I'll always like the idea of doing a little SBC, but MCUs are getting closer. Like I think the SBC space is obviously very saturated and advancing quite well. I mean, the amount of raw performance they're getting out of these little boards now are incredible. And I think eventually RISC-V will catch up in terms of performance to be able to become a real challenger. But then I think, MCUs are getting really close now. Like some of the STM32 MCUs are way powerful enough to run Linux, right? A non-MMU Linux. But even some of these chips have got MMUs now, so Squixle shows anything. Sion loves writing firmware. I don't mind writing firmware, but not when I have a deadline, when I have to, that's interesting. That's the first time I've seen that, because it's always plugged in. Hang on. Oh, that's not facing it anymore. So I just looked at my Squixle, because we were talking about Squixle, and I went, oh, the battery indicator. Interesting. Why is the battery indicator showing 2 dots and 4 volts? And then, oh, that's because this is not plugged in. It's been sitting here running off battery the whole time. So since I unplugged it and was doing all this stuff, it's without any battery saving stuff at all. So I've got no screen dimming. I've got no CPU clock speeding, like clocking down. Like sitting here doing this, it doesn't have to be running at 240 megahertz, right? And the battery's only chewed a little bit. Like it's still at 3.9, 4 volts. That's pretty damn good, considering that it is updating that screen a lot. Anyway, back on charge. There we go. So that's with no battery optimization at all so far. At all, not even one line. Like I've written a function for screen dimming that doesn't get called anywhere. Yeah. And then unexpected laptop. Yeah, I think that's all playing. I'm not interested in doing stuff like that myself. Like I just can't. I think, I know it sounds bad, sad. I'm finally getting too old to take on big challenges that are just by myself now. If I was working in collaboration with someone else or a small team of people to work on something, absolutely. But doing from start to finish myself is becoming harder and harder. Power outage checking. Done. Yay. What? A PD10 emulator? Well, that wouldn't need much, would it? Aaron, I'm not saying an MCU will be a replacement for an SBC, like a proper computer chip, but like STM32 have MCUs that have GPUs in them and MMUs inside them, right? Sure, they're not designed to run a 1080p screen, or maybe 1080p they can do, so they've got MIPI, they've got whatever, but they're really advanced. Like a lot of the really nice in-car display stuff that you're seeing these days in modern cars with the bigger screens. I'm not talking about the Tesla, but you know what I mean? Like the screens like this, they're all running off MCUs. Like it's pretty crazy. So I think it's getting very close. You know, maybe still many years away, but it's getting close. It will happen. Maybe not in my hardware design time frame. I'm not sure I'd be that interested in a few years' time. We'll see. Okay, I think it is time to for me to wind up the stream and go get some coffee. I will keep you all posted on this. I am a few weeks away from being able to talk about this other thing that might be a roadblock for this, a temporary roadblock. Not a roadblock, a alternate path on the road. I'm in the prototyping stage of this other thing that I can't talk about right now. And it's going to be exciting if I do it. It just depends on how broad I do it. Anyway, whatever. By the way, all the parts are coming in. It's all the magnetic connectors, screens, magnets, everything's here. I'm just waiting on the PCBs, and then I'm going to start making some Squixles. Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Scattered Sion again. Thanks, Aaron. I mean, there was nothing crazy about this that it should have been a problem, but I'm surprised I got the M.2 connector the right way, to pin out right first time. Anyway, bye everyone. Have a great week. I will catch you all next week. Ciao.